Hey guys, it's the Synth Doctor here, and today we have a vintage ARP Odyssey MkIII on the bench at 2823, and this is being fully restored. You can see this is the latest model, or the last revision made, with the red leather sides and the black and red silkscreen. It's a pretty cool looking synth, and one of the great things about this one is, unlike my 2813, where you have to completely disassemble the bottom just to service it, if you remove these 4 screws here, this ARP is actually hinged like a car hood. Pops right open, and you can see that the inside of the synth is much more serviceable. So we have the key bedded down here. I'm gonna pull that out. I'll put that in a separate video, replacing the bushings and cleaning up the key bed. You can see that the power supply was already rebuilt here. All of the synth was recapped and redone, and we're coming back in here to do the filter. So there's still tantalum capacitors on the filter. The previous owner was not able to remove the filter chip, and I believe we have some damaged traces here. I had no filter resonance when I received this unit, and that would be due to some lifted traces. So here you can see where the pins are anchored. So on mine it was much easier to remove with a Heiko gun, but here we're probably going to uncover a little bit of damage, and hopefully not too much. We can always kind of patch it up, but we'll be very careful to preserve the original traces. On my last restoration of my personal ARP Odyssey, I had no issue damaging any traces, but of course on this one there might be some prior damage. So we will be removing this board over here. This is board C. So we have on the left board A, which has the PPC, proportional pitch control. We have board A, the oscillator board, board C, and then we also have this interconnect board that's notorious for kind of falling out when shipping, which we will have to remove first, and then we'll be able to take board C out of here. Actually, in some other videos, we're going to be removing and rebuilding the sliders. Usually I replace these with the PTA, the Burns PTA sliders, which feel absolutely amazing. But about half of these have already been replaced with reproduction ARP sliders, and we're going to go ahead and redo the remaining original ones there. And this is actually mostly because the knob caps that fit on this guy it will not fit on the PTA sliders. They will only fit on the ARP style CTS sliders. So we're going to go ahead and pull this interconnect board out. We're going to remove board C, remove the filter, and we're also going to do a modification to correct a design error that ARP did, which the cutoff frequency is much lower on the filter than was intended. So we're going to change 4 resistors on there and increase that cutoff response, which helps give the ARP a little more high end and a bit more bite. So let's get started. Okay, so first things first, let's remove this interconnect board. Now this can only go on one way, so very carefully we are going to just rock each side out where all these pins are. And you can see how easily this came out, so it probably wasn't pushed in all the way. So this is the interconnect board. You can see it's just a bunch of Molex connectors with the PCB tracks here. So next we want to remove these 2 connectors here. Go ahead and label them if you're not sure where they go. And then using a 1/4 inch socket, you're going to remove, or a nut driver in this case, we're going to remove this board. So you have to make sure that your slider caps are off first for that board to come out. Then this board should just carefully lift right out of the synthesizer. And there we go. So you can see we have the filter module mounted upside down over here. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the board over and add a bunch of fresh solder to these pins here, and then we're going to use the Heiko to suck all the solder away. And very carefully we're going to work this module out. Alrighty, so now we've loosened up this filter module. Okay, and it's important to make sure that you can wiggle each one of these pins loose, otherwise stop what you're doing and go back and reheat it or add more solder and attempt it again, because this should almost pretty much drop right out of the board. And that's why the first person struggled and damaged some traces. So as we can see, actually it looks like he did manage to recap this. But I'm going to still go ahead and make sure that this resistor modification was properly done. I actually do see some new resistors in here. Yeah, those are not the normal carbon compound ones. So actually it looks like our work might already be cut out, but I will repair some of these traces down here that were damaged in the process. Particularly the one that has to deal with filter cutoff. So we'll clean this all up and make it look a little nicer. And I'll just double check that everything on the filter looks good. Okay guys, I'm going to throw up a diagram on the screen shortly. But just to show you, you're going to use 2.2K resistors to replace the 4.7K original resistors. And the ones you replace, I believe, are R2, R7, R12, and R17. And where those live on the actual board, you'll see it in the board layout. Well, there's one right there. And I'll put this on the screen. Here's another one. The third over here. And the last resistor you're going to change is right there. So that's how you improve the filter cutoff point. And of course replace all the tantalum capacitors on here.